What's going on, everybody? It's Professor Zeus, and I'm back with another video. If this is your first time at the channel, go ahead and hit subscribe. I greatly appreciate you. We are on our way to 700 subscribers. I turned 31 on Thursday, and looking at how life's changed since I've been a kid, it's an interesting world. Gen Z is dealing with a lot now, but back then, it wasn't all roses back then either. And I see a lot of people complaining about corporate America, about jobs, about affordability, like it's some new trap that's forcing us to fight for our lives. But nobody's forcing you to do anything except yourself. It's all a question of what you want to do. I found this woman, Livy Lou, on TikTok. Want to react to it? Let's see what she has to say and have a conversation after.
Did have a job in accounting for a little bit. But right now I'm still waiting tables. My parents are just really getting on me because they're like, Olivia, you need to act like you're unemployed. Like you're getting comfortable with your job. And it's like, no, I'm not getting comfortable. In fact, I want to get out of serving. Like it's great for what it is, but it's ultimately not what I want to do. And I do want to get out. But this other life, this like 9 to 5 life doesn't seem very attractive to me anymore. And I just feel really disillusioned with the whole corporate life because, for all the shit that you guys go through, at the very least, you could have job security, but you don't. Like, I'm really realizing that there's no such thing as job security. People used to tell me, oh, get a government job. Y'all see what's happening with the federal jobs? Like, there are whole departments being laid off out of nowhere, no notice, no nothing. You would think that with everything that y'all go through and how much time and energy you pour into these jobs that they would treat you better, and they don't. I have to move back in with my parents, so it's just something I'm thinking about because I know they're going to be on my ass about the job search and things like that. And it's not even that I'm lazy, it's just that I don't want to fight for something I don't actually want. It just doesn't seem worth it. Not only do we not have the same level of job security that our parents and our grandparents had, but we also can't afford anything. Even if we do have these jobs, even if we do have this job security, a lot of people can't even afford to pay their rent. At least back then, you guys could pay your rent. You know, you could pay your rent, you can buy your car, you could buy houses, you could afford to eat, you could afford to have fun. We don't have that same reality. The way prices have gone up in comparison to the way wages and salaries have stayed stagnant is insane, and nobody's talking about it. We don't have the same reality that our parents and grandparents did, and they don't want to acknowledge that. What we're fighting for is not the same thing that you guys were experiencing. So it's like I'm fighting so hard to get some 9 to 5 that's going to pay me barely enough to rent a room in a house and live in fear every day of being laid off on a random Tuesday. And then in the midst of that, I don't even know if I can put food on the table, or if I can put food on the table, I don't know if I can put gas in my car. And if I can put gas in my car, I don't know if I can have fun because I need to put food on the table and gas in my car. Our money is not going as far as it used to go. And I feel like we're getting gaslit about that. Like home prices, tuition prices, like the way everything has gone up and they're paying us the same amount of money is insane. So excuse me if I have no interest in fighting for my life in corporate America. I'm sorry. It's
So let me just give you some backstory about my life. Um, and I'm gonna put her video in the description. I grew up in Prince George's County, Maryland, and my family is kind of a big part of why I see the things the way I do. My dad came to the United States from Nigeria on a student visa in like the 80s. And, he worked his ass off, multiple jobs, just grinding to make ends meet while, trying to get the best education he could. And my mom, she was right there with him, holding it down. Um, they got married around 93. Um, and it wasn't all rosy. I mean, they had me, then they had my brother Manny. I was born 94, Manny was born 1995, and they just bought a house in 1995. And then, my dad lost his job. So my dad was just doing odd jobs and not having like steady employment for like 10 years. So during that time, my mom had to pick up the slack and, working several jobs to keep, our family afloat. And I was just a kid, and my parents never really try to really show that there was friction or tension, show the hustle. I mean, my mom, like, they would do odd jobs and take me, Manny, Spiz, all of us in the van with them, go to from job to job just to make ends meet. And they never stopped moving forward, despite how things were looking for them. And that was my reality for the 90s, early 2000. I wasn't really necessarily outside running the streets or anything like that, but I was old enough to feel the weight of what was happening to a degree. The economy wasn't some abstract thing. It was, for me, my parents' stress, like a tight budget, and the way they had to make the dollar stretch. And that wasn't really unique to us. Times were tough for a lot of people. And if we zoom out really quick, people act like economic struggles are new, but they're not. If you go back to the 90s, Bill Clinton, when he was in office, he laid off about 400,000 federal workers. So entire industries, they were cycling through layoffs and rehires. Lay people off, hire them back, lay people off, hire them back. And I was born in the obviously 94, so I was only seeing my parents' emotions. I can't really fully grasp about the economy and things like that, but I could just see in my parents' face like how tired they would be and different things like that. But if you think about movies like The Warriors, right? Think about cities like New York. It made it seem like life was just run down, right? In the 80s. So when she's talking about, oh, there was job security and stuff like that back then, that's not really the case. You know what I mean? Like, if you talk about affordability, if we go back historically, we're not even seeing interest rates as bad as they were back then. Like, we're talking about interest rates in the tens. We're seeing it at the high, sevens right now. But imagine buying a house at like 15% interest, right? And like, honestly, imagine that. We're complaining now, but imagine 15% interest in buying a house. Obviously, the price of the house back then was, fairly more affordable. But if you're paying 15% interest, how you gonna make the payment? Life has always been, cyclical. It happens in cycles. There's ups and downs. The market's gonna correct itself. There's housing booms. There's housing busts. So, Gen Z acting like everything's supposed to be smooth sailing, but in reality, that's never been true. My dad, my mom, they've been hustling, 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 hustling. And they've always let it be known to my brothers and myself that they've always had to work multiple jobs to keep things going. So they had to be creative with their time in order to keep their family afloat, right? They had to bring home whatever money they could and, make it work in their to the best of their ability. So when you hear people say, I have to move back to my parents' basement, they're telling me to get more serious or different things like that, I'm like, they're right. I know some people who had to do it. I mean, you technically have more options now than any generation in the past. No one's owned anything. My parents weren't, you know, my parents were all in Nigeria. My parents had to come here fresh and, figure it out, right? You can go to college, you can learn a skill, start a business, make as much money as you're willing to hustle for, because discrimination is not gone, right? But it's less of a wall than it's ever been, if I can say that. But I think the main issue right now, and I've said this in a lot of my other videos, is are you more so for accountability or are you going to proponent, or excuse me, not proponent, but push excuses? Which one are you going to do? Because I see a lot of people just being lazy. In reality, Not everyone, but a lot of us aren't motivated, right? I have a family, I have a wife, I got a son, and I have a motivation by default. If I don't bring the bread home, it's an issue. I've got to bring it every time, right? We've got freedom more than my dad, my mom could have ever dreamed of when they first got here, and we're not using it. College really isn't just about getting a job. You got to flip the script. It's a tool. You learn a skill, you build credibility, you network, then you launch your own thing. That's why I keep telling people, be creative on how you make money. That's what's gonna work. But I'm not gonna lie. When I was in college, when I was doing my undergrad, I didn't necessarily use college to the best of my ability that I could have done. Right? It was mostly party. I had my first taste of freedom. Dorm life. That in itself was I can make a whole separate video about that. But that's something that I to someone regret is like how much I wish I could have taken my college life during my undergrad more serious. So college is a launch pad. Stop thinking like, oh, it's this way or that way. Be creative. But like I said, she says Gen Z is so disinterested in corporate America. Well, if you're disinterested in corporate America, you got to be creative on how you make money, because there are ways to make money. There are ways to be successful, but don't go about it being lazy. I noticed that she said, I got to choose between putting gas in my car or putting food on my table, and there's no room for fun. I had another video where I said, you got to lock in for 10 years to live the type of life that you want to live, and then another 10 years to make sure that that life is never changed ever. So is there time for fun? Something you got to ask yourself. But let me know how you guys feel in the comments. I will put this video in the description so you guys can take a look for yourself. Let me know if you made it this far. Please like and share this video to someone who you might think might see some value in it, and leave a comment. Let's have a conversation, and yeah, subscribe if you made it this far. We're on our way to 700 subscribers, man. We're taking it the humble route, and never forget, it's you and I verse for a reason. I teach you, you teach me, and we both take what we taught each other and learn from each other and apply it to what's going on. That's the only way life can go on. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.